right, we're live, guys. So the chat should be up. It's public. So you can just, let me know that you're here. You can just say hi to everyone else. This is community members only, so it'll be a little bit smaller than last night. Hey, Brennan. Hey, Jasper. One. Hi, Karen. Hi, Josie. Sweet. So I think more and more of you will join as we go. There are more than just the 4 of you in here right now. And then others were sent the link. Some people might not be showing up in this live session because they want to just watch the replays, which is totally fine. So really quick, I'm actually going to be sending you an email later. There was conversation last night about updating you guys on the registering for just in general, updates seem to be better with a phone. So really quick, let me know. Do you prefer communication from me from email or like text message? So if you could just write email or text, that would be awesome so that I can help reach out to you guys in the best way possible. So I can still send them both. All right, good to know. Email. Oh, all right. So maybe you guys all would rather email, text. So maybe I'll do them both. No, it's fine. So, I'm going to look into getting Remind so that I have, APUSH and AP World kind of separate because you have access to both. So I'm trying to communicate with everyone in the best way possible. The other thing I want to share with you. So I talked last night about this cool book that I had gotten. And so I just wanted to share the Amazon link with you. So it's just up on your screen now. So if you want to just keep that open on another tab, you can always go back to it. But this is just a really cool, this is called ASAP US History. So I don't know, I went to the bookstore the other day. I bought literally all of the US history reviews so that I can make a video of them. And then I'll probably, return most of them because I don't need all of them. But this is the one that I'm going to keep. So I had never heard of this before. And it's just really cool because look at this. It has all of these really dope maps and charts and flow charts and I don't know, these wheels. The whole thing is visual and none of the other books are like that. So if you're looking for a prep book, I don't know. I just wanted to show you the link to this just because it's way different than the other ones and it's $8. So if I could send you a copy, I would, but this is the one that I'm going to actually hang on to. Also, the Kaplan APUS book is free right now online. You can get the Kindle version for free. So while you're on Amazon, you can, hook yourself up with that book. So anyways, just wanted to show you that. And we're going to jump in. So today's focus, I'm going to make myself nice and little over here. Is it more review? So this book, it doesn't have any practice questions in it. It's every 20 pages, sometimes they have an ask yourself, what challenges were presented to organized labor. So sometimes there's little questions, but there's no practice essays or anything. And they don't even really talk about the test. But what they do is they have all the content in graphic organizers. So for example, here's the Columbian Exchange one. So you can see it just has the Columbian Exchange in the middle and then all this stuff about it. And I just think this is cooler than one of the other books that just have just a lot of text. So I don't know, if I was teaching in a classroom, I would get a class set of these and then you could theoretically write practice questions for any of these graphic organizers. So it's you have the answer, what would be the question? And then you could even write a paragraph using the information. So just something I wanted to share with you. So it's just, I don't know, it's cool. Cool. All right. So I'm going to make myself smaller here because the questions will be more important. So I'm going to be using Albert for this. The reason why is because it's just a nice system. It's got all the questions in there. It's tagged, you can see it's tagged by, actually I got to pop out the chat. So you can see how it's tagged by all the different key concepts, and then they have a certain amount of questions for that. They do charge for usage. I'm actually emailing them to try to get you guys a discount in case it's something you're interested in. I'm not affiliated with them at all. You definitely don't need Albert in order to pass the exam. You've got tons of other resources. But I'm going to use it for multiple choice because it will tell us if we're right or wrong right away. And it's got questions for every single one. Something to note before I jump in is these are questions mostly written by teachers. They're not College Board questions. So some of them are going to be too easy. Some of them are going to be too hard. It it's a pretty good alignment to what you'll actually see on the test, but teachers wrote it, not College Boards. So keep that in mind. It's, it's not perfect. The other thing I want to tell you is that I have not answered any of these questions, right? So let's go into like pre-Columbian native life. I have not answered any of these questions, nor have I seen any of the questions that we're about to look at. So if I get one wrong, no one's going to make fun of me, right? So, I'm going to do my best. I have everything. So we're going to do this together. I'm going to do my best to get them all right, obviously. If I get one wrong, it's because a key term or something was confusing. It's possible that I get one wrong. So I'm just giving you like a full, just so you know. But it will tell us, and we're going to learn from the mistake, and we're not going to make that mistake again. So that's just fair warning, okay? Teachers are not perfect. I'm not going to get a full 100. I know, Sylvia, I am human. I'm going to get something wrong, okay? So just so you know. I'm just telling you so you don't yell at me and say, like, why did I get in here if she's just going to get questions wrong? Like, if I took the APUSH test, I would get a 5. I've taken practice ones, I would get a 5. But that doesn't mean I would be one of those people that get, like, all of them right. So let's see. All right, so here's how we'll do this. The first time I go through it, I'm going to do a question and just kind of, like, talk you through it. Like, I want you to see what would go on in my brain while I'm answering questions so that you can kind of model yourself after that. And then we'll do ones together. And then you guys, the chat is public. So if someone says B, then I know the rest of you are likely to say B just to fall in line. But it's worth it for you to try to answer the question, to practice. And if you get it wrong, that's okay. If you say B and it wasn't B and you're the only one that said B, that's okay. All right. So, it's worth it for you to practice. And if you get it wrong, learn from the mistake rather than, hide and pretend that you knew it. You're all human too, right? So, all right, so let's look at this. So the way that I would answer these questions, and I know a lot of you guys have AP World experience, so you've done these before, but we'll do at least one practice set for each key concept. So there's 4 key concepts in this section. So each one has like 2 or 3 questions. I'm not going to use the elimination tool because that's cheating. And then, all right, so let me just talk through this. So if you feel like you know the answer, you can type it. But in this first one, I'm going to try to do it myself. So let's do this. So we've got, which one should we do? I guess we'll do this first one. Native American lifestyles. Is that this one? Yeah, okay. So we've got Native American ruins. So in this image, the very first thing that I will do in every question is look first at the sourcing. You'll notice Albert uses a bunch of stuff from Wikipedia. Whoa, you know B already? I haven't even looked at it. So I'm going to look at this. The first thing I'm going to do is look at the sources, and then I'm going to look at the question. Based upon the image above, which North American Indian tribe once inhabited these ruins? Well, I can look up here and see that it's a pretty, specific. They're like in a mountain. So is it the Powhatan, the Pueblo, the Iroquois, or the Cherokee? This kind of question is just straight up like, do you know this information? You can use what's in here to help you, but you kind of just have to know where all these people are from. So just like most of you are saying B, I know that Pueblo is in the Southwest. These look like the kinds of things you drive by if you went through Arizona or, the Southwest region. I know that these other ones are not in the Southwest. So let's go with B. I'm going to trust you guys. I'm going to trust my gut on this. Submit answer. Boom. So this is why I like Albert, because it's just going to tell me now why choice B is correct, why the other choices are incorrect. So if you're taking notes or you're just trying to remember some stuff, the Powhatan tribe is from Virginia. The Iroquois is from New York and Pennsylvania. Cherokee is part of the 5 civilized tribes in southeastern North America. So we got that one correct. So now we got another question based on the same image. Based upon the image, which statement below best describes the Indian tribe that inhabited these ruins? All right, so this is assuming that you got the first question right. That's kind of important. And you now need to know something about it. The tribe was nomadic, moving from place to place in search of food. Well, the reason why I'm looking at this thinking, if you're nomadic, that seems pretty difficult to build and then move away, right? The tribe built these structures after their conversion to Christianity. Okay. The tribe lived in permanent structures as part of a community. Okay, that might be a good answer. The tribe sought to model their structures on the homes found in Europe. All right, so you definitely don't have to know about the Pueblos to answer this question. You could just look at this picture, right? Like I said, if you're nomadic, you're not building this complicated thing. If you are, nothing about this says Christianity, right? We're not seeing any Christian symbols. Permanent structure, it definitely looks permanent, not to mention looks like it's about to fall over. But you also can see there's more than one person living there. So there's a community. And it doesn't really look like the homes in Europe, right? Like you don't go to Europe and find places that look like that. So we're going to go with C. How are we going to do? Boom, got it right again. All right, so you can kind of see like the way that I would answer this question. I have a student that had just emailed me asking what time we're starting. So obviously they're late, but let me just quickly respond and just say now 5 p.m. so that they can come in. Okay, so all right, so let's move on. So let's do one more in this time period just because I guess it's worth it. Is there one more that's like small? Let's do pre-Columbian Native American settlements. All right, so again, first thing I would do is read the source. So this is coming from First Peoples. This is a secondary source. Looks like it's in a textbook. So this is going to tell me about them, but it's not coming from them. It's coming from a historian. The Mississippian town of Cahokia was a thriving urban market center founded around AD 700, close to the confluence of the Missouri, Mississippi, and Illinois rivers. And occupied for about 700 years, Cahokia had a population of between 10 and 30,000 at its height, about the population of medieval London. Trade routes linked Cahokia to distant regions of the continent, bringing shells from the Atlantic coast, copper from Lake Superior, obsidian from the Rocky Mountains, and mica from the southern Appalachians. So let's see. Which of the following conclusions about pre-Columbian America is most directly supported by the passage above? So we know that it could be that more than one of these are supported by this, but one of them is more than others. So trade existed among Native Americans despite geographic and other barriers. Yeah, I mean, it definitely talks about that, right? It talks about trade routes and all the things they got. Most Native American groups formed cities comparable to those of Europe. This doesn't really talk about cities. It talks about the population size being similar. Political alliances were common among Native American groups along the Atlantic coast. The Cahokia town is in the Midwest, right? So it doesn't really tell us much about that. Like that might be true, but it doesn't tell us. And Native American groups in the Mississippi Basin formed the largest settlements in the Americas prior to Columbus's arrival. We don't necessarily know how big the other places were. We know that this one's pretty big, but it doesn't compare it. So as most of you guys are already guessing, I'm going to go with A because this one definitely supports that. And we get it right. So you can see like the, same reasons here why that would be correct. All right, let's do another one. Which of the following groups is least like the inhabitants of Cahokia in terms of their socioeconomic organizations? So what do we know about, so like, put in the chat box, what do we know about Cahokia in terms of their socioeconomic organization? So what kind of, like what does this tell us, or what do you already know about Cahokia? Like, for example, all right, so we got traded along the rivers, relied on trade, built mounds. Are they the ones that built mounds? Are they the mound building people? That might be true. Not 100% correct. So someone knows for sure. But at least based on this, so it doesn't matter if this doesn't say that. It could be something about them. So based on this, okay, thank you. So yes, they were the ones that were mound builders. So based on this, we know that they are a thriving urban market center, relied on trade. We know they have a pretty big population. So based on all those things, which of these groups of people are least like the inhabitants of Cahokia? Is it the Crow of the Great Plains? Let me zoom in a little. Is it the Iroquois of the Northeast, the Cherokee of the Southeast, or the Aztec of Central Mexico? What do we think? So, you got to kind of know a little bit about the rest of these places. But which of these would be the least like the inhabitants of Cahokia? So you guys are mostly saying A. I'm going to go with your guts on this. Let's see. Are you correct? Misread? Oh, no, you said A. Boom, you guys are all correct. A. So the Crow and other Plains tribes did not live in permanent settlements. They were seasonally nomadic, following the buffalo herds. Okay, so that's important to know, right? Like the Crow and in the Plains are similar. Perfect. B is incorrect because the Iroquois and the Algonquins in the Northeast, they did create permanent settlements, but they relied more on agriculture rather than trade or other pieces. Choice C is incorrect. The Cherokee, the Creek, the Choctaw in the Southeast, they created permanent settlements, relied on agriculture. Most of the tribes, let's see, they could sustain larger populations, but none of them were as large as the Cahokia. And indeed, the Aztecs, they had more trade. They had further reaching trade and utilized agriculture more so than the Cahokia. Good. So you guys totally killed it on that one. All right. So let's look at this next question. Large pre-Columbian settlements, like the one described in the passage, can most directly be attributed to which of the following developments? So if we have these, this is a pretty big population, right, for the Cahokia tribe. And so what is, why, let's see, based on which most directly is the reason for that development? Like, what is the reason why, this was able to happen? Why did the population increase so much? Was it the arrival of horses? Was it an influence of religious unity? Was it the spread of maize cultivation or a change in global temperatures? So let's see. Well, you guys are definitely saying C. Let's go with C. Boom. You guys are absolutely killing it. All right. So we've got C. We know that the spread of maize was a huge reason for, right? More food equals more people. Look at that. So more food, lots of maize, huge settlements was awesome. Let's see. The horses would not have affected anyone before the Columbian Exchange because they don't come till after. In choice B, there's little religious unity among the tribes, so that's not true. And in choice D, the Ice Age lasts, let's see, this is like way before. So it wouldn't have, it's possible that drought conditions brought about the end of the Mississippi mound building peoples who created the Cahokia, but wouldn't have been a direct cause of their settlement. Sweet. All right, let's go back to key concept 1.2. All right, so 1.1, you guys are pretty good with. Those are pretty similar to questions you'll see, right? You just kind of have to know a little bit about each of the Native American tribes. Like, can you pull out that information from a source, from an image, from a text? All right, let's look at Columbian Exchange. This has all the questions in here. Key concept 1.2. All right, let's do the Age of Discovery. Ooh, this one looks fun. All right, so let me zoom in here so you guys can see this a little bit better. Here we go. I know. Here I'm getting excited about maps. Sylvia knows that's how I roll. So, all right, so I can't even really make out all of this, but based on this map, we have we've got the whole world, and it's specifically, let's look at the source. Actually, this one doesn't even have sourcing on it, which is not indicative of what you'll see on the test. But we're seeing the green is areas known to Europeans before 1450. So this is pretty much the old world. The orange is Portuguese strongholds. So this is where the Portuguese are, and the orange. And then all the different lines are showing you the travels of the different showing you the travels of the different explorers. So you've got Portuguese expeditions in the orange, and then you've got Diaz, Columbus, John Cabot, Vasco da Gama, Amerigo Vespucci, and Ferdinand Magellan. Okay, so you've got all of them on there, so you can see that they're going all over the place. So the voyages depicted on this map led to which of the following long-term impacts on Europe? Is it a steady decline in population, new sources of mineral wealth, a shift in power from countries bordering the Atlantic to those bordering the Mediterranean, a shift from capitalism to feudalism? Well, what do you think? And then I'll tell you what I think. You guys can drop your answers in there. A, B, C, or D. Take a guess. Sweet. So you guys are in a good spot here. I also agree. I would have said B. Def B, because there was gold in the Americas. You are correct. So because of all of these expeditions, the Europeans are going to gain all kinds of, not just gold, but silver as well, right? The silver flow that's coming out of Potosi in the South America, like Peru, Bolivia region. That's huge. There's a ton of wealth that's coming from that. Yeah, exactly, right? So answer A is incorrect because, the population grows because of this, not declines. C is incorrect because the power of the Atlantic countries increased. So it wasn't necessarily, what did C say? Shift in power from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean? No. So it's really the Atlantic that's gaining more and more power rather than inside of that. And D is incorrect because it doesn't go from feudalism to capitalism. It goes the other way around. It goes from feudalism to capitalism, and this is the opposite. So this is not a shift that happens. So good job on that one. Which of the following was a key motivation for European leaders to sponsor the voyages of discovery? So why did the European leaders send these explorers out? Was it to develop alliances with other European nations, the desire to find more lucrative trading routes, the development of free trade zones, to study and adopt the religions of non-Europeans? Yeah, right. What do you think? Drop it in. Most of you guys are doing that so far, and I can't even tell the difference between this question and last question. So I'm going to go with you guys that did that first and go with B. Good job. Right. So we've got, like we talked about last night, the European leaders want to get more access to the spice trade. What's going on in the Indian Ocean is massively, profitable, and the Europeans want a part in that. So they're trying to get there. It's expensive, right? So spices are expensive in Europe. They want silk. All those things are expensive in Europe because it's hard to get to, right? So if you just look at this map really quick, oh, this is a different, that's weird. They changed the map. Weird. Okay. That's super weird. So, let's see. Yeah. So it's God, glory, and gold. So, but you can see here, it's not like, the canals that we have today that kind of make that travel easier. And then also airplanes. Doesn't exist then. So you got to go all the way around if you want to connect those regions. I mean, look at that. That's a lot. And so you can't just pop through here. So this is, more indicative, people are trying to find better routes to Asia. So the question is, are the questions on the exam this straightforward? A lot of times, yeah. It kind of depends. Like I said, these questions are designed by teachers. They're pretty good. Some of them are going to be easier. Some of them are going to be harder than what you're actually going to see on the test. But as long as if you can do practice questions on like a college board practice exam, that's going to be your best bet. All right, which of the following did not enable Europeans to establish colonies and trading posts in the New World and Asia? So, which of these were not reasons why Europeans did this? Improvements in technology, advances in cartography. Cartography is map making. The formation of joint stock companies, or the invention of the ironclad warships. Yeah, I'm not even sure where that sounds like Game of Thrones. Yeah, exactly. So looks like ironclad warships were not used until the 19th century. So in this time period, that wasn't a thing. That's interesting. I guess that would be talking about those like massive. That makes sense. Okay, so it's not about like the exploration technology. Whereas all the other ones are going to help them, right? Joint stock companies, improvements in technology, improvements in map making. Yeah, exactly. The Civil War ships, those ones. So far, these questions are way too easy. Good to know. All right, so let's find some harder ones. Yeah, it looks like these ones are all, yeah, here we go. Look. So these ones may all be labeled as too easy. So let's look at Columbus Journal. I mean, the thing is, like, all of yours will be kind of, let's look at this. Beliefs about slavery. This one says it's a medium question, and the next three are labeled as difficult. So let's see. Jordan Winthrop, D, white over black, American attitudes towards the Negro. This is coming from something that was actually written in that time period, looks like. Maybe not. No, it looks like it is. Not sure. Okay, so from the first, Englishmen tended to set Negroes over against themselves to stress what they conceived to be radically contrasting qualities of color, religion, and style of life. What Englishmen did not at first fully realize was that Negroes were potentially subjects for a special kind of obedience and subordination, which was to arise as adventurous Englishmen sought to possess for themselves and their children one of the most bountiful dominions of the earth. Oh my gosh. All right, so this question says, this historical account above illustrates what major historical trend among Europeans during the 16th and 17th centuries. So based on what we've read here, and I'll leave that up for a second. I can't make it so you can see all of it, but leave it up for a second so you can see, you can kind of read that again. So we have contrasting qualities. What Englishmen did not at first fully realize was that Negroes were potentially subjects for a special kind of obedience and subordination, which was to arise. All right. So which of the following the historical account above illustrates what major historical trend among Europeans during the 16th and 17th centuries. So, the primary role Christianity played in justifying the enslavement of Africans and native peoples, the belief in white superiority that became a rationalization for slavery, the pattern of using the scientific method to support the treatment of Africans, and the significant challenges to notions of white supremacy. So what do you think? So this one is labeled as a medium question. The other thing too is you guys are, you just reviewed this, so it might seem easy. But I don't think this question is like super straightforward. The way that it's written is a little bit more confusing. So if you have a guess, drop it in the box. I'll just give you a second. All right, most of you guys say B. So we're going to go with B, belief in white superiority. Good. Yeah, so it looks like the rest of them are wrong because, look, most people get that one right. So this one's a little easier. All right, so the next question is labeled as difficult. So let's see if this one is more difficult. And I can always bring up other questions as well. So the idea is described by historian Jordan Winthrop, demonstrated continuity with justifications for what later historical development. Okay, so something that happened later, but this is going to like show a continuation of that. Supreme Court decision in Brown v. Board, the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, motivation behind the creation of the Populist Party, or the Supreme Court's decision in Plessy versus Ferguson. Yeah, you guys are killing it. So to be honest, you guys, part of the reason why I think you see this question as easy is because you've been studying. So you have to know all of these things to get this right. Right. So let's see, I'm sure we're right here. Good. So Plessy versus Ferguson is separate but equal, which is based in the racist notion that, we should develop separate societies, but then they could be equal, which of course they're not going to be equal. So this kind of supports that. So you guys did a good job on that one. The passage from historian Winthrop Jordan specifically challenges which alternative historical viewpoint regarding English perspectives on race. One more time. The passage from this historian specifically challenges which alternate historical viewpoint. So which does this challenge? That the English largely believed in white superiority, that the superficial differences between Europeans and Africans were immediately used to justify slavery, that Africans were indeed biologically distinct from whites, that Africans were a necessary labor force in the New World to replace increasingly unpopular Indian labor. All right, let me give you 20 seconds. Drop your answer in there. I'm going to look for... 10 more seconds. All right. APUSH. All right. So here we go. Okay. So you guys said B. Oh, yep. I can scroll up to the passage. All right. So it looks like you have different answers here. So some of you guys are saying C, some say D, some say B. So let me scroll up to the passage again. See if you can... So remember, we're looking to see what does this challenge? What historical viewpoint does this challenge? All right, looks like some of you guys are changing your answer. So let's go with B. So perfect. Exactly, right? So Jordan is making a particular argument that challenges the notion that the English saw a natural and immediate connection between the appearance of Africans and the need to enslave them, right? He's arguing that when exploration started, they're not using that as a rationale for enslavement. That's not it becomes it later. It's not the first cause of it. So race becomes a convenient justification for coerced labor, but it's not necessarily the cause of coerced labor. So that's an interesting point there. Okay, so all right, is this better? Was that question better? Give me a 1 if this is feeling a little bit better. Okay, good. So I just want to make sure you guys are getting the most practice that you possibly can and that it's useful. So if it's not useful, I'll find another source. All right, so we'll just choose the more difficult questions. We'll give you guys challenges. So what evidence would best support Jordan's claim in the passage? So which of the following best supports his claim? Census data revealing the number of Englishmen traveling to the New World over the span of several decades. Narratives from several time periods that include perspectives regarding the nature of Africans. Whoa. Narratives of slaves describing their personal experiences with the English, or tables detailing the numbers of Africans enslaved by the English. Okay, so let me scroll back up for a second. What is the claim in this passage? The claim is that that race was not the original justification for enslavement, but that later on becomes that. So which ones of these would help support that? You guys are going with B. 2 of you have B. So if you haven't yet answered it, maybe you disagree. So don't feel like you have to say B. I'm going to go with whatever you guys say. So if you haven't yet answered it, drop it in. All right, we got, let's see, 5 answers so far. All right. So 2 of you said C, 3 of you say B. So narratives from several time periods that include perspectives regarding the nature of Africans, or narratives of slaves describing their personal experiences with the English. I'm going to go with your majority. I'm going to let you guys answer this question. So we're going to go with B. Let's see. Boom. Good job. Choice B. So narratives of English perspectives could be used to analyze how viewpoints of white superiority evolved into justifications for enslavement, right? So you'd have to read about European perspectives to know what their justification for enslavement was. While the numbers of enslaved Africans could add context, it wouldn't really tell us the reasons or the motivations for enslavement. And then, some of the other pieces. So why is C before color was the main? Yeah. Narratives of slaves describing their personal experiences with the English wouldn't necessarily tell us the motivations behind it. I think you maybe could tell that it's not a good, they're poor conditions, but you wouldn't necessarily know why slavery happened in the first place. So good job. So B is correct. All right, let's see. Let's jump over now. So we're going to move forward from period 1. You guys seem like you're in a good spot. You're going to see on the test, you're going to see definitely at least one set of questions for period 1, and usually the test kind of goes in chronological order. So probably the first set of questions you see is going to be on period 1. So it's going to kind of look like one of those things. And then you'll definitely see sets of questions for period 2. So patterns of colonization. All right, I'm going to look for harder questions. Easy. Royal African Company. All right, well, actually, let's start with this one. Colonial New York. We'll ease into the period. All right, so we're looking at this. It's coming from, Wikipedia, but it's a seal of New York City. So, 1625. We've got some Latin here. You've got a European and a native. There's a nice eagle. There's some other symbols in here as well. We've got other little symbols. So, which Europeans originally established the above settlement in 1625? So, who settled New York? The French, the Dutch, the English, or the Spanish? So, you'll notice that, you can kind of tell based on what they look like here, but so you guys are going with the Dutch. Submit answer. Good job. So, questions like this are, right, def not Spanish. Questions like this are just straight up, do you know that answer, right? You can get clues from here, but you just kind of have to know that. So, the Dutch is where, the Hudson River is in New York. So that is correct. Another question on this one. What conclusion regarding the early period of New York can be drawn from a study of the above seal? So if you study the seal, what conclusion about early colonial period will you reach? The region was a vital producer of wine. Intermarriage with American Indians was encouraged. Latin was the primary language, and fur trading with Indians was a key economic activity. Yeah, so let's look back at this. Let me zoom on in. So thinking about that, what is it telling us, right? A lot of you guys are doing a good job guessing here. So we can kind of see that in between here, what is this? What is that? What is that, a beaver? And then you've got some kegs here. I think that's a beaver, yeah. So you guys are right with going with fur trading. You can see them both here. They're both kind of holding it up. The economy of New York is kind of reliant on both of them. Perfect. So the other ones, looks like the barrels represent flour. That's interesting. And so that would be wheat. Wine is not something that they're producing. At least it's not the major production of that region. The presence of the American Indian on there is to show you the importance of the trading alliances, but it doesn't say anything about intermarriage. And And not to mention, intermarriage in North America is not common. That's something that you're seeing in South America. And then choice C, it was common for many European nations to use Latin for mottos. What is that? Latin was used. Oh, yeah. So we don't speak Latin, right? Like you see it on seals, but not in what we're actually saying. So good job. Okay, so there's that. Let's look at some harder ones. Here, Royal African Company. Okay, so I will read this to you. Charter of the Royal African Company, 1672, and this is definitely coming from that. So this is a primary source, 1672. We do hereby. Oh, thank you, Miss Moutry, French intermarried. Okay, so I just know that that's a major thing that we see in South America and less so in North America. But thanks. Okay, so we do hereby, for us, our heirs and successors, grant unto the said Royal African Company of England and their successors that it shall and may be lawful to, and for the said company and their successors, and none others, from time to time set to sea such and so many ships, as shall be thought fitting by the said court of assistance, for the time being, of which the governor, sub-governor, or deputy governor to be one prepared and furnished with ordnance, artillery, and ammunition, or any other habiliments in warlike manner, fit and necessary for their defense. This is a mouthful. And shall forever hereafter have use and enjoy all mines of gold and silver. So the major thing is coming here. Yeah, seriously. So I'm seeing important things here. Set to sea and so many ships. Like if I had a highlighter, that's where I would highlight that. Mines of gold and silver and the whole entire and only trade, use and privilege of trade and traffic into and from the said parts of Africa for the buying, selling, bartering, and exchanging of, for, or with any gold, silver, Negroes, slaves, goods, wares, and merchandise and whatsoever. All right, so let me look at what you guys. I hated, the colonial legal language. Okay, so how do you recommend analyzing them? So like with a paragraph like this, it's repeating a lot of the same phrases over and over again, and you can totally get tripped up in a lot of those. But when you really step back and you think, okay, like what's the point of this, right? Like what's being written? So this is U.S. history because it's including trade from the Americas. But what's actually being written here is that it's talking about the trade, right? The sea trades that Africa is involved in for all these things, right? Gold, silver, slaves, goods, wares, merchandise, whatever. So it's kind of talking about what the privileges are for that. So, which of the following does the above charter reveal? European conquest of parts of Africa, a shared Atlantic labor market, European principles of free market economics, beliefs of European cultural superiority. What do you think? So which of the following does this charter reveal? All right, we've got 4 different responses. Take a guess. Yeah, so most of you guys are saying B. I think I would go with B as well. Submit answer. Good job. So B is the correct answer, right? So we are seeing that Atlantic labor market is not just Europe, right? Africa is absolutely a part of that. And they are, part of the slave trade, part of the gold trade, the silver flow, right? They're a part of those things. And so that would be the correct answer. Choice A is incorrect because it does not suggest anything about conquest. We just know that the English are going to trade with parts of Africa, and then obviously more conquest will happen later. Choice C is incorrect because although the passage deals with almost entirely trade connections in West Africa, there is a key aspect of the charter that shows that it stands in contradiction to free market principles. So it's not allowing anyone to trade. It's specifically like specifying certain people who are going to be allowed to trade. So that wouldn't be a free market. And then D, no evidence in the passage of European ideas of cultural superiority. It's instead just talking about economic rights to trade. Good job. All right, so same passage. Which economic policy was the motivating factor for the establishment of the above charter? All right, so which of these economic policies are really like supporting this Royal African Trade Charter, whatever it's called? So, here you got to know all the isms, right? So you just kind of have to know what these all mean. Yeah, so most of you guys are saying mercantilism. Mercantilism is like, merchants, right? It's like trade. So choice D, behind mercantilist economic policies, it's all about trade, and really like everything you do is going to be for the benefit of your trade, of your trading. So this is definitely the looks like the economic belief at the time. There was only a fixed amount of wealth in the world, and the nations trade that benefits the home country. Yeah. So the idea was that there was only a certain amount of wealth, and that, you could get as much as you could, and at a certain point it will run out. So the European governments are going to have this like, monopoly over trade with their different like colonies, and that is trying to get control of those things. So we know capitalism is more about free market, and, having more rights to anyone can kind of make money and organize with that. Plantocracy is not strictly referring to economic policy. It is about the de facto political power. So de facto means it's not necessarily written in law. It's just kind of how things are. And it's the political power that those wealthy planters had in the colonies. So, in a plantocracy, those wealthy landowners that own the plantations have a lot of political power, but not because it's written in law that they do. They have it because they have money, right? And that doesn't really talk about that. And then socialism is popular later on. So mercantilism, good job. All right, here's another one. Which of the following pose the most common challenges to the activities described in the passage? So, which of these made trade with Africa most challenging, or was the most common challenge? All right, lack of economic demand in the Americas, competition from other European nations, armed resistance from African tribes, diseases that decimated African populations. You guys are all over the place here. All right, so if you just said more than one, give me a guess of one shot. If this was on your test, what would you go with? What does your gut say? So, which is the most common challenge for trade with Africa? You choose C. So we've got B, B, C, C, B, B. All right, looks like most of you guys are saying B. So you're definitely in between B or C. So is it competition from other European nations or armed resistance from African tribes? All right, I'm going to go with you guys here. Boom. Oh, yes. All right, so choice B. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. The main challenge of the economic activities of any European country was competition. So you've got Spain, England, France, and Netherlands all imposing different mercantilist policies in their colonies. And they're trying to make sure that they were benefiting from that, and that their rival wasn't going to benefit more. So the challenge is really is competition. Sometimes that's going to lead to warfare. So choice A is incorrect because there was a high demand for enslaved Africans. Right. So, this would not be a challenge. There's a ton of demand in the Americas. And so that's not going to pose a challenge. Choice C is incorrect. Armed resistance from African tribes was quite rare. Instead, Africans were key trading partners for Europeans, often guiding the trade themselves. African demand for European goods drove the growth of the slave trade as well. Right. So you don't see a lot of pushback there. Choice D is incorrect. The Columbian Exchange represents the most dramatic ecological exchange in the world. D was about diseases, and that's not really the diseases. Any new introduction of disease in Africa is not going to super affect the population there. All right, so probably enough about Africa for this specific time period. Let's do one more in here. Let's see. If you see one you want, I don't know, let me know. Bacon's Rebellion? How do you feel about Bacon? Sure. All right, so we'll do Bacon's Rebellion, and then we'll do another one or two sets from 2.2. Okay. Ooh, all right. Story time again. So this is Nathaniel Bacon, Bacon's Rebellion, the Declaration, 1676. Right, going against the Virginia governor. Yes. So that's some context of this. So, when the army of English was just upon the track of those Indians, who now in all places burn, spoil, murder, and when we might, with ease, have destroyed them, who then were in open hostility, for then having expressly countermanded and sent back our armies by passing his word for the peaceable demeanor of the said Indians, who immediately prosecuted their evil intentions, committing horrid murders and robberies in all places, being protected by the said engagement and word passed of him, the said Sir William Berkeley, having ruined and laid desolate a great part of his Majesty's country, and have now drawn themselves into such obscure and remote places, and are by the success so emboldened by confirmed by their confederacy, so strengthened that the cries of blood are in all places, and the terror and consternation of the people so great, are now become not only difficult, but a very formidable enemy who might at first with ease have been destroyed. So again, we got another mouthful here. So, what's this document talking about? Like, what is he saying here? If you feel like you've got a good little summary, drop it in the chat. I feel like just like the last one, there's a lot of words in here, but there is he's got a point. Like, how does Nathaniel Bacon feel about Sir William Berkeley? What is he talking about here? So, so you've got this beginning piece here where they are, let's see, they don't kill the Indians. Well, there is tons of conflict between that. I don't think they're specifically murdering. Well, sometimes, I don't know. But they, Bacon is against the Native Americans and government based on the passage. Interesting. Okay. All right, let's see what this question is, and then maybe that will help us to pull out the most important pieces. Which of the following groups most strongly supported the sentiments in the excerpt above? You've got, let's see, mechanics and merchants who lived along the Virginia coast. So who would have really agreed with him? The governing body and leaders of Jamestown at the time, small landowners who lived on the Virginia frontier, and indentured servants and slaves in Virginia. What do you think? Who is going to see this and really support this? So we'll go back to this section. I wish they had a split screen so I could just have them both up. So who is going to agree with, I think ultimately he is talking about, the fact that he doesn't agree with the way that this is being governed, right? So who would agree? 2 windows. I'll do that next. I'll try to make it different next time. So who would have agreed? Mechanics and merchants on the Virginia coast, the governing body and leaders of Jamestown, small landowners, and indentured servants. DC, DC. All right. I'm going to go with so you guys are in both you got kind of all over the place. But most of you guys are saying D. So let's go with D. Ooh. The correct choice is C. I'm going to be honest. That was my gut was C. And then enough of you said D that you convinced me that it was D. So there's a good example of why you should go with your gut. So I know we got one wrong. All right. So Nathaniel Bacon's chief complaint in the excerpt was the lack of cooperation and commitment from the governor to eradicate the Indian threat. So he's kind of like, right, since Governor Berkeley had held a monopoly on the Indian fur trade in Virginia and was reluctant to prosecute any Indian war that would interfere with possible profits, Bacon and his fellow backcountry Virginians took matters into their own hands. So they led, look at this whole description. So Nathaniel Bacon is leading his fellow frontiersmen on a violent rampage against any native village they could find. I think where that comes into play is kind of this end piece here, right? A very formidable enemy who might at first with ease have been destroyed, right? You gave up your chance. So those like small landholders would have maybe, if you think about it, they would have been more likely to agree with him because maybe they were more, pressured. They felt more threatened by the native populations. So it looks like, it looks like most people also said D. Although slaves and indentured servants did participate in Bacon's rebellion, which is choice D, they did not represent the best answer here because it was the small landholders on the frontier that first joined with Bacon. All right, so we're going to take what we learned and move forward. All right, which of the following changes to the labor system in Virginia result from Bacon's rebellion? So basically, which of these was an effect of Bacon's rebellion? Native Americans conquered by Bacon became the primary source of slave labor in Virginia. Indentured servants who fought with Bacon had their indentures extended to life, creating the first form of slavery in Virginia. Wage labor replaced indentured labor in Virginia. Slave labor began to replace indentured labor because slaves were seen as easier to control than indentured servants. Yeah, you guys are on a hot streak here. Let's get our wins back. I'm going to go with you guys and say D. Boom. All right, we're back. We only got one wrong. Yeah, so, basically the idea is that after this, slaves would theoretically be easier to control. So they didn't, indentured servants maybe had more rights. One person said A. A is not correct because enslavement of native populations did not result from Bacon's rebellion. The natives were kind of the first ones enslaved in the Americas, right? And it's not because of the disease, they are, dying in huge numbers and, they have to kind of replace them. So their natives are replaced with indentured servants and then eventually more so with slaves from Africa. So the answer is D. There's one more question for this one. Yeah, good point. Okay, so another reason why the slaves would be more so involved, forms of labor than indentured servants is because eventually the indentured servants are free and then you have to find new ones, right? So, yeah. All right. So which of the following was a major consequence of the ideas expressed in the passage above? Armed insurrection against the government of the Virginia colony, Settlement of the conflict through peaceful negotiation between the Virginia colony and the local Native Americans, the use of British troops to put down Native American insurrection, the assassination of the governor of Virginia by Nathaniel Bacon. What do you think? Can we keep our streak back going? So what's the consequence of this? Is it armed insurrection, peaceful negotiation? Did the British troops help to put down insurrection, or was there an assassination of the governor? What do you think? A, B, C, or D? They eventually burned down Jamestown. Okay. So we've got two A's. Armed insurrection, assassination, peaceful. Bacon died of dysentery. What was that? Like the like Oregon Trail, right? But does he assassinate the governor of Virginia? I'm not entirely sure. But most of you guys are saying A, and actually A is my gut. So I'm gonna go with you guys. Woo! All right. So choice A is the best answer because this is the first armed insurrection in the New World. So we've got Governor Berkeley. Yeah, look. Berkeley fled when the rebellion fell apart. Berkeley fled, so he's not assassinated, and Bacon died of dysentery. Thus, this would be the first one. And some even argue that this is actually an inspiration for the revolutionary spirit 100 years later. So there you go. Cool. So we learned some stuff about Bacon's rebellion. All right, let's go over. So it's 6 o'clock already. So, I'm going to do another section of, we'll do one more set of questions from 2.2. Where are we? 2.1, 2.2. Here we go. Impact of the exchange. So we'll go through this and see how we do on this. All right. First Great Awakening. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a choice here. Would you rather the First Great Awakening or the Virginia Charter? You decide. First Great Awakening or Virginia Charter? Great Awakening. All right. Great Awakening. I agree. Let's do that one. Great Awakening is specifically listed. Good. Yeah, okay, so let's do this one. All right, so let's read another confusing colonial document. So we've got Jonathan Edwards, The Manner in Which the Salvation of the Soul is to be Sought. So this was written in 1740. This work or business, which must be done in order to the salvation of men, is a great undertaking. It often appears so to men upon whom it is urged, utterly to break off from all their sins and to give up themselves forever to the business of religion, without making a reserve of any one lust, submitting to and complying with every command of God, in all cases and persevering therein, appears to many so great a thing that they are in vain urged to undertake it. In so doing, it seems to them that they should give up themselves to a perpetual bondage. The greater part of men therefore choose to put it off and keep it as great a distance as they can. They cannot bear to think of entering immediately on such a hard service, and rather than they do it, they will run the risk of eternal damnation by putting it off to an uncertain future opportunity. Dang. All right, the First Great Awakening, which began in the 1730s. Oh my God, look at this. I am not sure where Edwards was from. So which of these finishes that sentence? The First Great Awakening, which began in the 1730s, was designed to appeal to the unchurched in the English colonies of America, did not affect the lives of African Americans, incited religious division between old traditionalists and new revivalists, or was relegated to the colonial frontier backcountry? All right, First Great Awakening. Which of these answers that sentence? So we've got, most of you guys say C. I would also agree. C. Submit answer. Correct. All right. The First Great Awakening sought to pull believers away from the ritual, ceremony, and hierarchy of traditional churches, and instead convince people of a more personal commitment to redemption and salvation. So as a result, some of the traditional ways of religion, like the Congregationalists and Presbyterians, their numbers fell, and new revivalist denominations like Methodist and Baptist increased. So it was less about that like hierarchy and the old rituals and more about the like personal redemption and salvation. So I will skip those for now since we kind of covered that. You guys had that. The First Great Awakening is happening in the Americas. In terms of, is this happening in Europe as well? I mean, at this time, like I'm not really sure. I mean, this is specifically talking about the Americas. I know the First Great Awakening is happening in the Americas, and that like Baptists and Methodists is like an American branch of those things. I know that in general at this time, you're looking at like scientific revolution and other like Enlightenment theories that are kind of just generally questioning the way things were done, right? So, is there a sense of revival in Europe happening at the same time? Quite possibly. Sermons delivered during the First Great Awakening stressed the importance of tithing, personal conversion, the poor deferring to the rich, or submission to religious authority. What were they stressing here? Yeah. Yeah, based on what you know. Good job. So Edwards is really urging his followers to stop being complacent in the traditional churches and instead to really pursue a like personal quest for redemption and salvation. Edwards does not talk about the practice of tithing, which is basically contributing 10% of your income to the church. And he was actually really against church coercion. So he would not have necessarily been for that. Edwards and other evangelical ministers of the First Great Awakening emphasized a more egalitarian version of Christianity. So it wasn't really about what did C say? Oh yeah, that hierarchy is what they're pushing against, and then same thing in D, like they're pushing against that. So wow, it looks like this one really tripped people up, huh? D was submission to religious authority. Yeah, so it would be against that. All right. Historians regard the First Great Awakening as a watershed event in the history of the English colonies in America for all of the following reasons, except. So, First Great Awakening was super important in this history for all of these reasons except one. The evangelical movement played a key role in the development of a revolutionary mindset among colonists. The religious revival experience was shared by all of the colonies up and down the Atlantic seaboard. Roman Catholics experienced more toleration from their Protestant brethren. The notion that the authority of the state should be dependent on a contract with the people became more popular. All right, so this one's hard. So the First Great Awakening is considered a turning point in the history of the English colonies for all of the following reasons, except. Is it because that, do these things play a key role in the development of a revolutionary mindset? Is this experienced by everyone up and down the Atlantic seaboard? Are Roman Catholics experiencing more toleration than Protestants? Is there, is that a big point of this? And are they starting to question the notion that the authority of the state should depend on a contract with the people? So what do you think? A, B, C, or D? Yeah, this might be the hardest one that we've looked at. So we've got a few answers. Can be B, C, or D? Could yeah, Jasper, you're totally right. D. So yeah, so let's see. I mean, it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 C's and 4 D's. Woo! All right. I am going to go with, ooh, this is tough. We might get this one wrong. All right, so we've got Roman Catholic. Oh no, Roman Catholics experience more toleration from their Protestant brethren, and so it's all the following except I'm gonna go with C. Woo! That was close, you guys. That was the closest one. So here's why I said C. All right, so it's correct because look, anti-Catholic zeal tended to increase as a result of the First Great Awakening. Looks like the Roman Catholic Church has a really hierarchical structure, and so it's kind of an easy target to attack that. It says there also is catastrophic events such as earthquakes in 1727, 1755, and those are increasing millennial expectations of the second coming. So the Pope is kind of seen as a villain by Protestants, and is, yeah, so it looks like Catholics find a safe haven in Maryland, but in general, Catholics do experience less toleration. So, this could be like the last one, and maybe I'll do one more if you guys want it. Choice A is incorrect. So the other one, you guys were between C and D. So D is incorrect. The thought that churches had an obligation to serve the needs of their constituents or risk fragmentation was a common theme of evangelical preachers. This notion of contract, which was brought up by the Puritans, gets more meaning here. So that's something that happened. So the key for this question was the except. All right. So yeah, that was a tough one. Looks like there's one more question for this section. So let's definitely do this one more, and then we'll check in. Was John Locke part of this movement? John Locke is an Enlightenment thinker, so he is, what he's writing is going to influence, maybe not this specifically, but these ideas. And so not entirely. All right. The occurrence of the First Great Awakening in America can be attributed to the perceived lack of piety displayed by mid-18th century English colonists, who had immersed themselves in more worldly pursuits. Which of the following religious developments in U.S. history is also attributed to this cause? All right, so we got some synthesis here. So which of these is going to tie to this, to what's going on? So it's like people are looking around and they're just saying, people are, there's a lack of piety, so, let's focus more on worldly pursuits. Is it the social gospel movement and the sexual revolution, the Christian fundamentalism and World War I, deism and Enlightenment philosophy, or the Second Great Awakening and the theory of evolution? So keep in mind the two things in each question would have to be happening at the same time, and it's kind of showing you, like, you've got what are these two things? Which of these two connections? Sorry, which one is most attributed to a perceived lack of piety? This is a confusing question. But what do you think? A, B, C, or D? So, it's like the way that you've got them set up is the second half is an event, and the first half is of piety would be like religious, like almost like purity, like you're trying to think of like a better definition. But if you're pious, you're kind of like best way I can describe it is like pure. I don't know. So is it the social gospel movement, sexual revolution, Christian fundamentalism as a result of World War I, and deism, Enlightenment philosophy, or Second Great Awakening? So we've got A, C, C, A. Come on, give me an answer here. Stay strong. We're just about finished up. A, B, C, or D? Last chance. Take a guess. All right. So I guess we'll, A. You guys are between A and C. Yeah, this one's tough. I'm gonna go with A. Oh man, we're gonna end on a bad note here. You guys were right. C. Dang. Okay, so this kind of went against what I knew about deism and the Enlightenment. I know. The only thing I was thinking of, see, I should have trusted my gut on this, is that the social gospel movement was not at the same time as the sexual revolution. So that's why that's wrong. Dang. All right, so let's learn. Choice C is the correct answer. Deism becomes popular in the 18th century during the age of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment philosophers preached the importance of rational thinking. So deists are kind of convinced that the proof of the existence of God could be deduced from reason and observation rather than like supernatural explanations. So a lot of the those early like founding fathers are deists. It kind of allows you to accept reason and science, but also believe in God, right? So it kind of lets you do both, and so that's a popular thing there. I just didn't see the only reason why I didn't go with that one is because I didn't think that the Enlightenment was making people like less pious, but I guess yeah, because it would make them less, as like science is taking hold and reason, people are less likely to believe in God, right? So the effect of that would be the rise of deism, so giving people a way to kind of balance the two. Yeah, so it looks like A is incorrect because of the timing of it. Christian fundamentalism so here, same thing, timing. That's more in the 70s, and World War I is obviously in the beginning of the World War I is obviously the beginning of the century, and Second Great Awakening was a Protestant revival movement in the early 19th century, whereas let's see. So it's different timing. Oh well. Yeah, look at that. Most people, well, I guess we kind of fit in. I don't know. All right, you guys. So it's almost 6:20. We've definitely gone over. So I'll ask you this really quick. If you want to do like one more question set, I'm happy to stick around for one more. You just hit a 1. If not, if you're like, honestly, I'm done, I need my break, feel free to log off. That's cool. That's fine. And we'll be back on Friday to do period 3. So give me a 1 if you're like, come on, Amanda, let's do one more. If you are over this, you can hit 2 or you can just log off. Friday will be at 7 p.m. Eastern, so 4 p.m. Pacific. 1. All right, so I'll do one more question set for those of you that want to stick around. If not, I'll see you on Friday. I'm trying to organize my communication systems a little bit better so that it's easy for you and you don't have to like register each time. So you'll just stay registered. So I'll let you know when I have updates on that. But let's do one more. So For those of you that want to stick around, stick around. If not, you can just watch the, replay. So let's see, where are we at here? Runaway slave advertisement. You're welcome, Karen. History of South Carolina, Navigation Acts, slavery in the 17th century. I don't know. What do you think? Any requests? I kind of want to do this runaway slave advertisement. Let's do this one. Yeah. All right. Runaway. So this is coming from 1763. I don't know if I can read all of that. So let's look at the question. The advertisement above, was it a reaction to which of the following? So, I mean, it looks like it's advertising people to the 18th in, I don't even know what that says. At night from, looks like a slave had run away. Lester, about 40 years of age, had on a white flannel jacket and drawers, saying what he's wearing. Caesar was about 18 years of age. Isaac, 17. Mingo, 15. So it's listing the people who ran away on that night. And it says that whoever finds them will get a 20 shillings reward. If you do that, and you'll get 10 pounds if you give the intelligence for it. So, all right. So, which of the following is what would have caused this? Like, what's this in reaction to? The high cost of African slaves, the fear of slaves and indentured servants conspiring in rebellion, overt ways in which slaves resisted the dehumanizing effects of slavery, sabotage performed by slaves in resistance to their conditions of bondage. So take your guess. It was 1763. October 27th, 1763. So what was it a reaction to? High cost of African slaves, the fear of slaves and indentured servants conspiring in rebellion, overt ways in which slaves resisted the dehumanizing effects of slavery, sabotage performed by slaves. All right, so this one's tough. We've got D, A, C. There's 6 of you still in here, so what do you think? Take a guess. If slaves cost a lot, there would be an advertisement to get them back, I'm guessing. That's a good point. So maybe slaves cost a lot this time. All right, so I say D because resisting bondage is escaping. Consider the year and what was going on. All right, so 1763. What are some of the things that are going on in that year? What is it about that time period that would have affected this ad? 1763. All right, last shot. Take a guess. Here's the ad again. Heightened slave trade, fear of slaves escaping. A, B, C, or D. Last shot. Everyone take one last guess. Let's see if we can get this one right. D. A. We're all over the place here. So I feel like D or A, B. So my first thinking of this was actually B. So take a shot here. We're going to learn something if it's wrong. Ugh. Should have trusted you guys. Oof. Who said D? Brennan. Oh, that one was wrong too. What was the answer? C? I don't know if anyone even said C. Oh, yeah. Man, rough. Okay. So slaves, let's see. Sabotage in choice D is not supported by the advertisement, even though it was a common form of passive resistance among slaves. Likewise, neither the high cost of slaves nor a fear of collusion with indentured servants can be found in this advertisement. This is clearly an ad calling for the return of runaway slaves, so C is the best answer. I know, I agree with you, Brennan. I do see resistance as a type of sabotage, overt ways in which slaves resisted. I mean, but also, like, you do have, like, running away is an overt way of resisting, right? It's not like a cultural passive, movement. It's like you're literally running away, right? So makes sense, I guess, that C would be the answer. Yeah, look, we fell in the same trap that a bunch of other people did. So now we know. The advertisement above would be most useful to historians analyzing the reasons why African slaves ran away, types of jobs performed by slaves on southern plantations, age of slaves most likely to run away for their freedom, impact of abolitionist groups helping slaves reach freedom on the Underground Railroad. What do you think? As a historian, if you're analyzing this, think about what kinds of information this is actually telling us. It might be leading to more questions of things, but here we go, right? It's telling us the people who are leaving, what they're wearing, how old they are, and then it's giving a reward for that. So which of the following would this most tell us about? A, B, C, or D? Does it tell us reasons why African slaves are running away? The types of jobs performed by the slaves? The age of slaves most likely to run away? Or the impact of abolitionist group? My thought process is that when the railroad helped slaves run away, the plantation owners would want them back. Right. But which of these can you learn from it? Oh, you know what? I'm reading this a little bit wrong. The advertisement above would be most useful to, oh no, okay. So if you're studying one of these things, if you're a historian and you're studying one of these things, which one would you want that ad for? A, B, C, or D? You feel like it's D because of the impact the railroad had on the slave owners. All right, so you guys are saying D. My first thought is actually C, just because if I'm studying the age that slaves were most likely to run away, this tells me the age. I don't necessarily know the impact of abolitionist groups helping slaves reach freedom. I don't necessarily know if these people that ran away are going to, if they reach freedom or not, right? The ad's trying to get them back. So I don't necessarily know if they made it. 3 data points. I agree. I mean, if I'm studying the age of slaves, I would need more than just this. But I'm going to go with C. So, right. So the data that we're getting from this advertisement is the age of slaves. So if I'm studying the ages of slaves that are likely to run away, I would want a lot of data points on that, but this could be one document that would be useful for me. The rest of it, I would have to know other things. Like, I don't know if these slaves that are listed, I don't know if they reached freedom or they were caught. I don't know what kinds of jobs they had. I don't know why. I don't even know why they left. I can infer, but I can't read directly why. You'll definitely see questions like that, ones that ask you, like, which one would a historian most likely use this for? Ooh, intended audience. All right, so this is a little, All right, so who is most likely the intended audience of this advertisement? Who are they writing it for? Current slaves who feared the retribution of their masters for running away. Oh, yeah, that's also true. This is 1763, so it is pretty early. Whereas there was this advertisement for Quakers in Pennsylvania who were active in helping slaves escape to freedom. Members of the colonial government charged with apprehending runaway slaves, or white citizens of the immediate area of the newspaper's circulation. So who's the intended audience? I mean, look at the ad again. You know, this was designed and published for who? Who are they writing to? Yeah, well, yeah, people who want money. But which of these people? A, B, C, or D? Who's the intended audience of this? Slave catchers? Maybe. Yeah, you guys are right here. So I would have said D as well, because think about it. Like who, if you live in that area, first of all, this is a newspaper, right? You can see it's an advertisement. Well, this is a digital image, but this would have been published in a newspaper. And so you would have had to be in that circulation area to read it. But we have Virginia was still a British colony, and the American Revolution was still 13 years in the future. So two was the right. Yeah, so there wasn't, the law that forced the return of runaway slaves hadn't happened yet. There were local laws as well as British. So, but it's like, see, choice B seems attractive on first sight, but pay attention to the geography here. Pennsylvania Quakers had nothing to do with slaves in Virginia. That makes sense. So this was talking about, how did we know that this was Virginia? Did it say? I don't really know how you're supposed to know that this was Virginia. Anyways, all right, but either way, choice D would have been the best because that's who would have read this. I know it says New York Gazette, so that's why I'm also like, I'm not sure why you would have known not Quakers. I don't know. All right, you guys. So I'm gonna just pull this up here. So that's gonna be it for tonight. Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'll be live again with slides on period 3 to kind of give you an overview of that. Highly recommend spreading the word to your friends. You should have all gotten an email from me now with your referral code. And you can just let me know if you want, any help in helping to refer friends. And I can help you give some tips on that. And I'll probably send out some emails about that as well. So until Friday, if you got any other questions, drop them in the chat, and I will see you on Friday. So I'll just, I'll stay here for one more minute in case there's a question. And then if you don't have any questions, feel free to drop out. So Jasper, so as a member of the community, you can refer your friends, and you can have, you'll get some of the money, anything that they pay to become part of the community, you'll get 15% of that. So I should have sent it to you already. If I didn't, I will send it to you. I'll go back over tonight and make sure that you have it. So there's like a specific code that will be attached to your link. And that is like in the system attached to you, and it's already connected to your PayPal and everything. So if a friend of yours or a bunch of your classmates subscribe to the community and they get a membership, then 15% of their membership fee will go directly to you so that you can use forever you want. It's just, money for you. What other multiple choice sources like this are good practice? You can find, so if you go on College Board, you can see there are like multiple choice questions on there. There's an entire, like, even if I just Google APUSH practice test, I think the first one is coming from College Board. Yeah, so here's APUS practice exam. And this has like a fully released practice exam from College Board. So this is going to be very much aligned to what you're doing. So, you can see here, there's questions here, and there's I think there's an entire test. So there's 55 questions there. In terms of prep books, you've got other things too. What do I think of Princeton Review multiple choice? Let me just take a look. Like I said, I literally got them all. So I'm gonna eventually just keep the ones I love and return the other ones. But so the only thing about Princeton that I've noticed is that even though it says 2018 on it, it's actually not fully updated. It's some of the stuff for like the DBQ, especially like the rubrics, are based on the old version of the test last year. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm not sure the quality of the questions. I'm sure they're like okay, but they're not going to be like perfect, just like the ones we just did, right? They're good in like helping you practice the skills, but they're not going to be like perfectly aligned to the test. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're like pretty good. So I mean, you can get like the Kaplan book on the oh yeah, just Google like do the College Board one. So if you don't have a practice exam planned yet, like if your teacher doesn't plan one, you should sit down and do a whole one on your own. Take the whole one that College Board has published, like set a timer and do this like next weekend or the weekend after over your spring break, and just like 55 questions for multiple choice in 55 minutes. Then write all the short answer, write all the essays. And you're more than welcome to, if you want to write those essays, send them to me and I'll grade them for you. And I'll give you feedback so that you can, one, figure out what you're likely to get on the test. So I can figure out for you based on all your information, whether you would have gotten a 1 through 5 on your practice exam. So you're welcome to share that with me if you want. Is there a 10-minute break after the SAQ? Break is after, yeah. Yeah, Josie, feel free to send it to me. I mean, you can share it with your teacher, or you can just email it to me. If you want to sit down and take a whole practice exam and send me your essays, just like take a nice picture of them or upload them somehow, and I'll grade them for you. So, all right, you guys, we're definitely past the time. This review replay will be up in the community, and I'll email you a reminder about Friday. So have a good week. If at any point during the week you have questions, you have assignments due, you're not sure about something, just shoot me an email and I'll do whatever I can to help you. So, you guys are on the inside, so you've got me for whatever you need, however I can help you. All right. So good job tonight. You guys are in a good spot. So have a good week, and I will see you later.